But yeah, that was a lot of fun to do though. Let me just see what the next one is. Wow. You have a dungeon survey, lore survey, quest and leveling survey, raid survey, zone survey. Bro, I've talked so much. I'm like, can I do these? Are these gonna be as long? Maybe they're shorter. Let's just see how long the first one is. Yeah, that's the whole thing, right? Okay, that's not that bad. Classic Plus survey dungeons. Pick the top 3 dungeons you enjoy leveling in Classic WoW. Damn, okay, I've never thought about that. Top 3 dungeons I enjoy leveling the most in Classic WoW. I really like BRD and Marathon. They're my favorite dungeons in Classic. I like that you can get lost in those dungeons. It's my favorite thing about them. You just get lost. And I think getting lost in a dungeon means the dungeon is good. If a dungeon is linear and you know exactly the way to go and it's very straightforward on your first run, something's bad there. And some vanilla dungeons are that way. You know, they're all like crazy. So I like Marathon BRD a lot. What would I put my number 3 though? Stockades. Stockade's so bad, man. I like Uldaman so much, but I think the way Uldaman was implemented is bad. But the TBC version of Uldaman is pretty decent, but it still has problems. Because the problem with Ulda is you have to go to the dungeon, leave, go to the dungeon, leave. And then you can do the full run with the quest. I think that's kind of awkward. So I'm not going to pick Uldaman for that reason. But I think Uldaman, without that problem, is the best, one of the best dungeons here for sure. I like it a lot. I'm gonna pick something else instead. I think RFD is pretty cool. Where you're walking in a spiral and then you meet the boss in the top, and you have all these packs that keep getting harder. I think it has a nice team. It's rewarding. I've never been upset doing that dungeon, so I'll pick RFD. I think Uldaman's a better dungeon, but it's been implemented in a worse way than RFD. But even RFD is not perfect, so I'll pick those 3. But these 2 clear them. I would say Marathon BRD. I said top 3, right? Now pick the top 3 dungeons you think need major revamping in Classic WoW. There's an option for no changes. Every dungeon is perfect. No changes, guys. Okay, what needs revamping? I mean, Uldaman, right? It's just so bad the way it's implemented. It has to be revamped with the levels. TBC did a good job. At least do what TBC did with that dungeon. I mean, you have gray mobs in the beginning, then red mobs in the end. It's too crazy. Like, it doesn't make sense the way it's implemented, right? It's almost like Uldaman was like 2 separate dungeons. And that's how they wanted you to do it. You would clear the first part and then leave. A few days later, come back for the second half. But it's awkward to do that, right? In reality, it doesn't feel good. So I'd say Uldaman. I think I don't know about Stock. I could say Stockades, but Stockades is alliance only. So half the player base doesn't see the rework. Now, if the rework allowed the Horde to raid to do Stockades, that'd be really cool. But people get mad about that. But that's the thing. I don't want to pick Stockades or RFC because half the player base sees it. RFK, yeah, RFK is not a bad shout. It's not a bad dungeon at all, but there's a lot of problems with it, with the way you actually clear it. It's not that bad though, but I'll put RFK here. It could be a lot better. Like for me, there is Stockade. Maybe I'll just pick Stockades. Fuck it. Like I know it's alliance only, but it's just so bad, man. Like, Stockades is so bad. Like, you can't even finish the quest sometimes. Like, it's literally RNG. Like, you don't have enough mobs in a run to clear the quest. You have to go back in. Waning Caverns as well. Can I pick 4? I can pick 4, right? Let's just pick Waning Caverns over Stockades. Yeah, Waning Caverns could be better. It's very cool dungeon, but there's some problems with it as well. But yeah, if they didn't rework them, it's fine. At launch, given a finite amount of developer resources, should more effort be put into creating entirely new dungeons or improving old dungeons? Damn, that's a question. Make more dungeons or make the dungeons that exist better? Balance between the 2, I think I'm picking, because you want quality over quantity. I think having too much can be bad, but you want to give something else. You want to give people new content. So that's probably because the problem, guys, is if Blizzard doesn't do anything about old dungeons, only adds new dungeons, do you know what happens? The new dungeons are so much better that people will never do the old ones unless they have to. And then the gear would probably even be better from the new ones anyway. So I think you have to kind of like try to limit it, you know. Make the old dungeons better and still add new dungeons. Everyone's probably happy with that, right? Should more open world dungeons and quests associated with be added? Oh, okay, I understand now. Think areas like Fellwood, Stormguard and Arati, or Dark Whisper, Gorge and Winterspring. Guys, I think this is really bad idea. Hear me out. Hear me out why. So, the problem with, like, open world dungeons is instead of having that part and then you go in a dungeon, you just have that part being important. So then you have actually less work. You have less room to work with, you know? I don't know, like, I feel like, dude, I feel like there's enough of these, no? Do you need more of these? I don't think you need more of these. They're cool, but like, I don't know, like there's one in Hinterlands, right? That didn't get mentioned, the Hinterlands one with all the trolls. I don't know if you need to add more of those. Add lots more than them. I wouldn't pick this. They're boring. I can take any number of friends in there and destroy them, and they're never challenging. That's not true. That's not true. They are challenging. You can, dude, like, you can wipe. Turn open world dungeons into actual instance dungeons, or else they'll get ignored. I don't like any of these answers, because if you turn them into instant dungeons, you have less content. Think about it, like, that already feels like a dungeon. It's not an instance. So by making it a dungeon, you have not added any new content. You could have just added another dungeon somewhere else that was not there before. So that's a really bad option. What do we pick here, guys? I don't believe in any of these three, but I don't want to pick the one that I think is this is the worst one. I would be like, this is the way you reduce content. Doesn't make any sense picking this. Just pick the second one, but you don't. I would be like, dude, don't really add more of these. Maybe 1 or 2 max. Just add dungeons, but not dungeons replacing them. Just dungeons somewhere else. How do you feel about rare spawns inside of dungeons? Damn, I would never think someone would ask me this question. Rare spawns are annoying. If I want an item of one, I have to enter it, Mind Vision Scout to see if it's spawned, and then leave and reset it. If it's not there, waste of time. Yeah, that's very annoying. It's true. Rare spawns are cool, but just make them always spawn. They're not rare if I can scout ahead of time. Yeah, but if you make rare spawns always up, then they're no longer rare. So there's just another boss in the dungeon, which is fine. Rare spawns are an exciting and fun addition to dungeons, and I want to see more of them in Classic Plus. I see all the angles here. Like, so if you add more rares, that's going to be annoying because they will have bis items and you have to like scout more. People don't like that. And it's true that because you can scout it doesn't really make it rare because you can just do that. What you could do, which is not an option here, is rare mobs cannot be scouted anymore, but then have a higher chance to spawn, and they literally just spawn midway through the dungeon, but like maybe not when you're like in combat. Be like they will spawn at like a few packs later, but you can see it, and it would be kind of like almost like a dungeon event. They would kill a few bosses and then like, oh, there's a mob that spawned. You know? Like in the next 3 packs, we see it now. Kind of like RFD. If you've done RFD, there's like the big boar that can spawn. I don't know. I see the annoyance of it because like if those mobs drop a rare, then you have to spam the dungeon to get it. But dude, I mean, that's the game, right? Like if that's the game and you have to spam the same dungeon to get bis gear, is that something to complain about? You have content, right? You have something to do. It's better than scouting. I think scouting is boring. But yeah, none of these... it's the same problem like last time. This is probably the best option if I have to pick one of these 3. The rare is just always up. And they have an extra boss every time, which is kind of cool. So I picked this, but I still don't think that's the right way to do it. But from all those 3, they really should make a change with the survey and give you an option. None of the above. Because... I feel like people might be picking options that they don't agree with because they disagree with that option less than the others. How do you feel about lockout caps? Good question. Lockout caps are critically important to prevent OP classes from farming certain enemies, keep them in the game. Doesn't really affect me whatever. I hate lockout caps. They're a fun detected solution to a problem that isn't a problem. Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of weird that they even are a thing, like lockout caps, like, oh, you can't do dungeons anymore, you have to wait. I'd be happy if they made them 10 per hour. Yeah, I'm not a fan of lockout caps. I have to admit that. Bots will abuse this. I don't care. I'm sick of my gameplay becoming worse because of bots. I don't think that's a good excuse. RuneScape says the same shit all the time. Like, yeah, we're making this change because of bots. Like, I don't like that. You know? I feel like I shouldn't be punished because of bots. If something affects players in a negative way, it's not really a solution, right? You gotta think of other ideas to combat them. I get it, but I don't like it. How do you feel about dungeons having a rotating or random boss spawn with specific loot? Ooh, okay, it's a good question. So think about BRD with the SGC boss, Edge of Madness, and ZG. I don't really care. I don't think I want to see more of those, but I don't think I want them to be removed. So I'm gonna say don't care about this. Should there be a heroic dungeons in Classic Plus? Didn't we already answer this? I'm gonna say no opinion on that. I think heroic dungeons should exist after a few years as a major content patch to bring people back. You don't need them on launch. There's just too much content. Should there be Mythic Plus style dungeon ladders and progression? No. No Mythic Plus. Did we already answer these? Should certain bosses or areas be locked behind requiring a specific class or profession in your dungeon group? Example, a rogue opening a door, druid communing with an animal. I think if there's one dungeon in the game like that, it's fine. 90% plus of dungeons shouldn't have this, but a couple having this is okay. So I'd say don't really care on that. Should player power chase items be extremely low drop rate items in dungeons, or should those only be cosmetic drops? That's a good question. So do you want items in the game like Fell Striker, Iron Foe, SGC? So these are really rare, super hard to get. You gotta reserve them most of the time to be the way they are, super good, or become cosmetics. Farming these is annoying and feels like I never get them. Just remove them. Just remove them. I never got these. Get them out of the game. It's kind of fun to have something to chase, even if the chance I get it is super small. I think that's a really good answer. I love these items and would be very disappointed to see them removed or changed. I'm with the second one here. So I personally think it's cool that there's a really small chance you can get an epic item from the last boss of BRD. Even though you're not gonna get it, it makes you get excited about it. You get excited, like, is it gonna drop, you know? Yeah, why get that out of the game? Should there be solo challenges like Delves, Mage Tower in Classic Plus? No. This type of content turns MMOs into single-player RPGs. What a terrible take. Does anyone actually think that way? That's crazy. I hope not. Alright, that's like the worst take you can have. I won't do it, but I'm sure others think it's fun. This content is best, yes please. Yeah, I'm like, this is some of the best content in the game. Not Delves, but like Mage Tower. They should have put Delves here. They should put Seasonal Discovery, getting Ashbringer. You know, you have to like kill that boss in Axe and get the Ashbringer. Like, there were so many cool challenges you had to do. That is super fun. Everybody loves that shit. I feel like when you do it, you feel good about it. You accomplish something, and it's nice. It's hard to put this content in the game though, because you have to balance it around all the classes, right? That's why having a lot of classes is a problem. Like, it's a lot easier for RuneScape to add solo content in the game because everyone plays the same class. There's no classes, right? WoW, it's way harder. If RuneScape puts 1 out of 10 effort, WoW puts like 10 to do stuff like this. So yeah, do it if you think it's worth it. I think having a bit of this content in the game is great, but I don't expect to see a lot of it. I'm gonna be honest. But I really think there's gonna be a little bit of this and a lot more of everything else. Should Dungeon Finder be implemented? Which one did we pick last time? Yes, but only in-game UI to assist forming groups. I don't think you need automatic forming and then you have to run to the dungeon, just the UI. Should summoning stones? Yes. Alright, so some of these questions, guys, were the same as last time, so it's not like gonna take that long to do these. I don't think so. Wait, a lore survey. What do I know about lore? How would you rate the story as a whole in vanilla WoW? I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what the story is in WoW. I have no idea. And that's why I'm gonna put 10 out of 10. That's what I like about it. I like that I don't know what the fuck's going on. I hate these like obvious linear stories that lead somewhere and then like they end. I think that's the fact that you don't even know what's happening and it doesn't feel like there's like a singular villain that is like the big villain is so it's actually rare, like, because most things you like, think about Lord of the Rings, Sauron is the last boss, right? Like it's very easy to do that and that's the norm, but somehow in vanilla WoW they're like, ah, screw it, we don't have a final boss because Illidan will kind of be and then it's gonna be Arthas, right? But in vanilla they didn't think that far, so I think that's great about the game. You don't really need a big bad boss, but if they had a big bad boss, I wouldn't hate it. I would probably put an 8 or 7, right? But yeah, it's like this. I think the fact that the way it is in Vanilla WoW, where it's all over the place, is really cool. It feels like the main character is the world, and a lot of developers that have worked on Vanilla WoW have said that themselves. Like, that's the main character. It's the whole place, right? Do you feel Classic WoW does a good job explaining the story? I mean, to be honest, I don't read the quests, but I don't think it does though. What do you guys think? Do you think it does a good job explaining? I mean, maybe it does. For me, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. If you read the quest, I'm sure it's a different answer. Yeah, I just put that. Out of respect for the fact that if I read the quest, that's probably the case. What's the best major story told in Classic WoW by Blizzard? Wait, what? The best major story told in Classic WoW by Blizzard. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking about this. The AQ opening. There's a lot of good ones. I'm like personally thinking of the summoning of Ragnaros. You know, with like the Dark Iron, having part of that with the mountain and stuff. I think that's really cool. I don't know. I'm such a big fan of BRD. I'm like a BRD guy, you know. I think that's like cool. I'm gonna say like, but yeah, this is obviously subjective, right? Like, there's a lot of cool stories. You go like all the way to like the Undead and Kel'Thuzad. You can go AQ, right? You can go just some random quest like killing Princess. I don't know. Like, what is the worst story you're aware of in Classic WoW? The worst, I mean, I don't know. Worst story in Classic WoW? The Mankir's wife? No, why would the Mankir's wife be the worst story? Like, by worst meaning like the writing of it, right? Not because like something bad happened. I'm assuming that's what it means, worst. Nomer lore is bad. Yeah, but I honestly, guys, I'm not an expert in this field, clearly. I'm trying to pick something that I don't like in the game. And I think this is stupid that it's in the game. Tuga, why would Tuga be the worst story? She's like a turtle that was in a relationship with another turtle and she got lost and then you escort her. It's kind of cool. I like that. I like the Tuga one. Why is the turtle speaking? It's a fantasy game, bro. What do you mean? It's literally a fantasy game. Let the turtle speak, goddammit. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people are saying Gnomeregan. I mean, Gnomeregan has like an interesting story with like the leper gnomes and stuff like that, you know. I feel like WoW went downhill when they started doing a lot of time travel with the story. So yeah, Chromie time travel, I'll put here. Should Caverns of Time be added as a tool for more dungeon raids and lore? Time travel stuff, but it is an easy way to get more dungeons, yeah? And it's already in the game. And like, the thing is, guys, like, I care about the lore a lot less than I care about playing the game. So if this is a way to add a lot more dungeons, but like, what dungeons are you adding though? Because let's be real here. Do you guys like the dungeons that are present in the Caverns of Time? I don't really like them. Like, you got Black Morass, which feels like the way the word ends, you know? Ass. Then you have, you know, what's it called? Darkhold Keep or whatever. It's another bad one. Like, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, even in Kata, sorry, in Rad, they added another dungeon there. They were all bad. You know what? Don't put Caverns of Time. Whatever. No. The dungeons are just bad there. I can't think of a dungeon that I like. Even the raids ass. Dragons. Everything that... Every time you go down to the Caverns of Time, you're gonna have a bad time. You're just going down there for gear. Should minor factions' reputations be expanded on? Check all if you're interested in seeing. Get a bigger part of the lore. Oh, this is probably a lot of yeses for me. The Gelkas and Magram Centaurs are in the Desolus area. You have to pick one faction over the other, and then you progress your reputation. You kill the Centaurs, lose rep with them, but then gain with the faction you picked. Could add more to it. Pretty cool. Device Brotherhood, yeah, why not? Various Ogre clans, yeah, why not? The Syndicate. That's like the rogue one, yeah, sure. Scenario Circle. Nah, whenever I think of Scenario Circle, I think of the terrible quest chain, and I don't want more of that. Argent Dawn, sure. Brood of Nosdormu. Shendralar. Is the Shendralar the people in Dire Maul that if you give them a book, you get rep with them? Yeah, why not? Zandalar Tribe, why not? Darkmoon Fair, sure. Bloodsail Buccaneers, yeah. Venture Co, yeah. Frostmane Trolls. No, those guys killed me on my first hardcore character. I want to see more of them. Ravenholt. I don't know what Ravenholt is. Is that like the rogue thing as well? That's like the rogue thing, right? I mean, sure, just put it in there. Taurian Brotherhood, yeah. Infinite Dragonflight, no. Hyrexan Warlord, depends how you... honestly, bad vibes with this. No, screw those guys. Timber Maw, yeah. Alright, so mostly yes. I mean, dude, I could put yes on everything here, you know, but like... this is like... Yeah, it's cool. Just add more stuff, why not? Is it important to you if the story told in Classic Plus leads from phase to phase in a cohesive way? I think the problem with that is eventually the story ends. Because if you're telling a story in a certain way like that, eventually it's gonna culminate to something. And then you gotta come up with a new story when that ends. So that's harder. I don't know if you have to have a linear story. And I'm not sure if people play Vanilla WoW for that either. I said it's not a big deal. Should each phase or cluster of phases conclude a storyline before picking up a new arc? Or can stories run concurrently? Yeah, it's fun bouncing between the different threads. I would say it doesn't have to be one ending, another one starting. Which of the following villains, major enemies in WoW, would you consider have a compelling story? Choose up to 5 of them. Bogger. Yeah, Emperor Dagran Tassorian, for sure. I think Onyxia has a pretty good story. Ragnaros' story is like, I mean, these two kind of go together. So I'm just gonna pick one of them. I mean, that's gonna be way more than 5, bro. Kel'Thuzad has a really good story, and Illidan, Kil'jaeden. Fuck, I mean, how can I pick 5 of these, bro?
Yeah, boy.
Bailing donated €3. Joker has bad vibes with Hydraxian Waterlords because water elementals are sinking Maul to Kek.
Obviously, Artis. I mean, Artis has better than Emperor. Kel'Thuzad, Illidan, Artis. We're picking people that are not in vanilla, right? And it makes sense why they have a better story, because they actually had like a story arc that, but it eventually ended, you know. But I think I'll pick KJ and Vosh then, because these four. I mean, Nefer has a better story than one of these though. But yeah, this is a tough one. Even Kael'thas has a really good story. Actually, I think Kael'thas' story is good, better than some of these. Like Kael'thas kept coming back, you know. He always loses. But this is tricky. Anything else you would like to mention about the lore of WoW as it pertains to Classic Plus? I will keep that empty. I'm not that big on lore, so I don't want to like give something I don't even care much about, right? Just did the survey. This is not a big one for me. Alright, here is something I know a lot about. Quests and leveling survey. Here we go. I'm familiar with this. Oh boy. Oh shit, we got a lot here. Alright. How do you feel about the leveling cadence of vanilla World of Warcraft? Average of 120 to 160 hours to level cap. It's too slow. I'd want Classic Plus to speed up leveling to get to the endgame activities faster. It's just right. It's too quick, extended out, so hitting the cap takes months and months. I think it's too fast. Hold on, I gotta go take a piss. One sec. So hear me out on this, right? Hear me out on this. So they could do leveling. Leveling could be slower in Classic Plus, not faster. But you have more zones to pick from, more quests to do, more dungeons to do, and 2 raids that you can do between level 1 and 60. Think about like BFD. You could level in BFD, and you could level like a Nomer. And maybe those dungeons, those raids would be at level 30 and 50. And they would be tuned around level 30 and 50 players, as strong as those players would be realistically at those levels. Because I feel like a problem with WoW, something that RuneScape solves so well, is in RuneScape, you can raid while you're leveling. But you will be worse at raiding because you're still leveling. And WoW, all the end game is at max level. So if you have a bit of end game as you're leveling, people would be happy with slower leveling because they're actually enjoying those parts of the game that they like a lot. Because if you're someone that hates leveling and you only care about end game, then making leveling slower is bad. But if there's actual some end game to do in the leveling experience, like a couple of raids, like just 2 raids, you get some epic gear in them, but then would be replaced as you get way higher level. That could give people a bit of a taste and be like, hey, that was actually fun. I can't wait to see more of that when I get higher level, instead of leveling mindlessly for 200 hours and then reaching the end game and not liking it. You have an idea sooner. So I think that's a way they could do it. Regardless, if they make leveling faster, I'm fine with it. If they make leveling slower, I'm fine with it. It's not like a big deal. But that would be like really cool though. I don't see Blizzard making leveling slower though. If you guys, like, they're gonna make it faster. I would be shocked if they made it slower. Does Classic Plus have phased level caps that raise over... No. Terrible idea. I like that they tried it out, but that is really limiting to the game. You're limiting the game too much. Don't do level caps, no. It was cool that they did it though. I actually thought it was a great idea, but in reality it was like, this kind of sucked. You know, when I actually played it. So yeah, don't do it. Good way to try it though. Rank these quest types in terms of how much you like them, with 1 being your favorite type to 11 being your least favorite. Okay, this is cool. What is my favorite type of quest? Kill X number of enemies. I do like those quests. Let's click that for now. It's my favorite quest. Loot X number of items from enemies. I don't like those quests. Fetch this item from this place and bring it back to me. I don't mind those. Escort this NPC from point A to B. Carry this thing from one NPC to another NPC. Okay. Kill a specific raid boss. That's pretty cool. That's a cool quest. But you can't have a lot of those. But that's a really cool quest. I'd say that's cooler than the other one. I have to admit. Deliver this location. Oh, discover this location. That's pretty cool. I like... is there any quests in WoW? Oh, there are quests in WoW like that. Those are cool. Yeah, you have a little magnifying glass on the questy. You go to that area. Yeah. Craft X number of things. I kind of like these quests, but I'm not sure if you guys do. Because if you have to make something that you literally have to spend so much gold on, it sucks. So yeah, it depends how it's implemented. Yeah, let's keep that in the back for now. Do X thing, but you have a time limit. I mean, they're cool, but I'm not sure if they're top 5. An enemy dropped a quest item that begins a new quest. Those are fun. I think I like that more than the other one. Even more than this, actually. Do X thing, but you have time limit. Yeah. Quest objective isn't fully explained. You need to figure it out. I think Guzu likes that one a lot. Alright, so what is number 5? This, and this is 6. I'd say that is 7. This is 8. This is 9. This is 10, and this is 11. Yeah. Escort is like my least favorite, and then like loot X number of items. Like, these are 2 I hate the most. The other ones I don't mind at all. These are really cool. By the way, like, any quest that's like kill a raid boss is so sick. Because what expansion did that? You would have quests to kill bosses, and you would actually go to old raids that you don't really care much about for gear, but you want to do the quest. It might be rat. I think they're cool. I can't say bad things about that. TBC does that too. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fun. It gives you some replayability. But you can have a lot of them, obviously, right? Do you feel like the flow of quests in Vanilla WoW leads you from zone to zone in a natural way? Okay, so the thing is, it kind of does. Let me explain why. Because you run out of quests to do, so you have to go somewhere else. But it doesn't tell you what zone to go to. You just have to go. You have to leave after some time, but you don't know where. But so it doesn't hold your hand. So I'm assuming the way this question is asked is it like Cataclysm leveling? Yeah. Let's see what the answers are. Yes, I've always got some zone to check out and quest to do. There are some gaps, but generally it flows well. I often find myself in the grind mobs to be high enough level to begin new quests. I think that's kind of the answer here. This is the thing they have to solve in Classic Plus, and I believe they will solve this by just literally adding a couple of new zones. Adding some quests in every zone. Like, they basically, TBC fixed this problem. TBC leveling might be the perfect leveling. The only problem I have with TBC leveling, it's too fast for me. But you have options. You never have to grind. I don't think it's gonna be as bad as it is in Vanilla. I picked that answer because that's how I feel about it. Should there be more quest hubs within existing zones? No, there's enough quest hubs. Maybe a few hubs in some more remote areas that will help fill out the world. Not bad option. Yes, quest hubs are exciting additions that fill the world. I think I'm picking number 2. So I don't want to have quest hubs everywhere because then it's too much. But you add a hub when there's like nothing there at all. There's like, this is like barren area. I think that can work. They kind of did this in TBC almost. With Dustwallow Marsh. But if every zone was like Dustwallow Marsh, it would be too much. I think if anything, Dustwallow Marsh is too good. You know, I like the zone a lot, but it's probably too good. Like, you can't have every zone be like that. Yeah, it would just be ridiculous, man. It would be crazy. The only way that would make sense if every zone was like Dustwallow Marsh is if, like, leveling took 3 times longer. But that's like, I don't know, no one would like that. How do you feel about puzzle quests that are more complicated to complete than just kill 10 boars? For example, Captain Sanders' Hidden Treasure in Westfall or Quadrigulation in Sod. I hated this quest. These quests are too complicated. They should be simplified and clearly stated instead of solving a puzzle. A few here and there is fine, just don't do them too often. I think that's my answer. Like, if there's a couple of quests like that, maybe 5-10 quests in the game, maybe even more, like, it's fine. But 95+% of quests should not be like this. But having quests like that in the game is cool. So yeah, I'll be like a few here and there. How do you feel about repeatable quests in general? Repeating turn-ins, dailies, weeklies, reputation turn-ins, PvP. These quests are boring and detract from the game's ethos. I see the value of these quests as they don't give significant player power but allow the sweatiest players to grind things forever. These quests are great, we need more of them. I'm going boring, man. I don't know. I don't want to see more of that, bro. Should there be daily, weekly word quests? Ooh, that's a spicy question. Word quests. No, the way retail WoW does word quests does not fit in what I think Classic Plus should be. The only type of word quest should be a one-time completable quest like the South Shore Assassin quest or the Gizelton Caravan quest and does this. I've never done that quest, by the way. I've never seen that quest up. Word quests are fine as long as they aren't a massive chore list like every day. Word quests get players out into the world more regularly. Adding them would be a good feature. So this is true. But you don't need word quests for people to go outside. What you need is people who have gathering professions to go mine. Or have like maybe some random event that could happen. People go outside to do dungeons because they have to travel outside. There's reasons that exist in the game. You don't need word quests. Like, word quests make sense in other versions of WoW. I think retail WoW needs word quests. But not classic. So I'm gonna put this. Should every class get more class quests on top of their already existing ones? No. I don't like the idea of being locked out of quest lines. Remove these and simply make their rewards purchasable and trainable. That's a terrible take. If you have classes in the game, you're gonna get class quests, alright? Like, might as well enjoy some fun out of classes because they create so many problems, which I talked about earlier. Having classes in games are big problems. At least benefit from the pros of classes. Why not in that case, right? The ones that exist are fine, but don't add more. I think that's fine. I don't agree with that though. But if this is someone's opinion, that's okay. Yes, but only to unlock abilities and spells like Warlock Demons or Priest Racials. Any gear should be removed from these. Okay, we're cooking a little bit here, so this is an opinion of like, we don't want Diamond Flask in the game. We don't want class only gear from quests. I can see that, but I still don't agree on this. Yes, class quests are fun ways to expand on the RPG and expand lore while making leveling feel different every time. It's true. It actually does do that. Whenever I play a different class than my previous one, it feels different. And if I had some quests to do that only my class could do, like the Whirlwind Axe quest on my warrior, it's like, how can I not want that? You know, I know it takes effort to develop it and stuff, but it's fun. It's fun. So I will admit that that's my choice. How do you feel about group quests while leveling? Group quests are annoying. I don't want to interrupt my session by having to look for help to kill something. Group quests are fine so long as they aren't too numerous. I should be able to do most of a zone without needing to group up. I agree with that. I love quests. I love group quests and would like to see more of them in Classic Plus. I mean, there should be more of them, but not more in each zone though. So like, I think there's enough group quests in every zone as it is. But if there's a brand new zone, then you have to add group quests to that zone. So I'm gonna pick number 2 here. Should quest reward gear be buffed? Interesting. Should they buff quest gear? Leave it as it is. Somewhat. Try to make the extra terrible items at least usable to someone. It's hard to disagree with that, bro. I don't know. It's hard to disagree with that. Yes, most quest rewards should be an upgrade as I level. It's also not bad. That's also not a bad take. Let's go with number 2 so we don't go overboard, yeah? But if this is your choice, it's not a bad take either. Like, I'm gonna be honest. But I don't want items to become very boring and linear. Should attunements be streamlined or made easier? No, if you want to touch the Onyxia attunement questline, I'll lock you away with Marshal Windsor. Okay. Sure. Cut out the aggressive travel sections, but keep the spirit of attunements intact. Yes, I'm tired of going to BRD or grinding righteous orbs just to enter a raid, cut it down, and allow players to walk in easily. Let's answer the second question first. Should attunements be account-wide? No, doing attunements on alts is part of what connects you to the alt story. Streamlining it ruins that. That is not 100% incorrect. That is not 100% incorrect. It does actually get you more attached to your character. Yes, but maybe just make it shortened questline instead of simply account-wide. That's not happening. There's no way Blizzard is gonna bother making a different questline just for alts. That's in a perfect word type scenario. It's not happening. Yes. Doing attunements over and over feels really bad. Make alts easier to play. It is a very tricky one. So the thing is, this is like the most likely answer for most people, and I also agree with it. But I feel like a problem with World of Warcraft is I feel like a problem with playing WoW as a non-super casual is it's so expected to have alts now because that's the only way to stay busy in the game. But maybe imagine a world where you don't really need alts to play the game. You can just be busy on 1 or 2 characters max. And then you would be more inclined to be doing the attunement on your only alt. Right? But if you have 10 characters... something's wrong with the game. Or something's wrong with you. That's what I think. And this comes from somebody that played 22 characters in Wrath of the Lich King. People have more alts now than they did 10 years ago. Even in retail. If Classic Plus is going to be a game that if you play a lot you're going to get bored and you need alts, then you have to think about alts, right? And that answer is thinking about alts. The first answer is not thinking about alts. I'm going to be alt friendly because of that. Even though I wish that I would be busy in the game with only 2 or 3 characters as a streamer, and as a normal player be busy with 1 character, right? Obviously, playing the game 8 hours a day, there's not going to be enough content for you. But if you play 2 hours a day, there should be, right? Let's go with that answer. Even though I think this one is true, and I agree with this, I'm going to pick that one. And then for attunements being streamlined and easier...
Hello Yoked, when are you playing the critically acclaimed game Highguard? I heard it's very good and people like it.
I'm googling it right now. Highguard. This is a 5 out of 10 game, and it's mostly negative. Yeah, how about that? But my business email is open for potential sponsorships. I could use a sponsor, so... Anyways, so on this one here, guys. Keep the attunements exactly the same, or make them way easier. I'm gonna go with keep them the same. Because if they're account-wide, you only have to do it once. But if the attunements are not account-wide, then I'll be more inclined with being progressive on this. But yeah, honestly, I don't think my takes are that great on this part of it, but... whatever. I'm not like 100%, right? This is a very interesting question. So, what a prestige level is, in case you don't read the question, you reach max level 60, but you keep gaining levels even though you don't get stronger, and it's kind of like a flex. No, not like Paragon levels. Paragon levels are player power. Paragon levels give you stats. These don't give you stats. So, I'm like prestige 100, which means I played more than prestige 80. My problem with this is what if people start to looking for more BRD prestige 100 plus? It would be another way of... I see a lot of gatekeeping problems with this. Kind of like achievements can be gatekeeping, but this is even more. This is like an eye level thing. It's just a cosmetic level. Okay. This is like 200 mil XP in RuneScape. If you know what that means, you'll get it. It's like there's no difference between being 13 mil and 200 mil. There's no difference, but it's just like that. Yeah, it would just be a leaderboard for it. for like the absolute nerds to go max prestige. I think this is really cool. I would like it, but I think it's bad for the game. I think it would be bad for the game because people will find a way to gatekeep it. I'm gonna say no, even though I would like it. I would put how I would enjoy this below how it would affect the game, because I think the game would be affected quite negatively with that. But maybe there's a way to implement this. I don't know. People would just find a way to abuse it. Like, you're like, oh, prestige 5+. Like, you know, it's just, yeah, prestige farming. It would be weird, guys. I don't think we need this. What if prestige levels gave small bonuses to professions and flight path speed, and generally made it easier to do things on your account? No, listen. You don't need this. You just add achievements. Just add achievements. And then you have an achievement, account-wide achievement. If you do every single quest in the game, which is ridiculous, maybe the flight paths are like 10% faster. Like, you know, stuff like that. Like, I don't know, just random idea. You don't need this to be like a prestige thing. Put it as a an achievement. People are familiar with achievements, they're not as familiar with prestige. Why add like a brand new system? Diaries in WoW? Yeah, I think achievement diaries in WoW would be insane, actually. But achievement diaries already exist in WoW, kind of. They're like achievements, meta achievements. Yeah, you don't need this. Even though I think this could be cool, I would like this. I don't think you need this in the game. You just do like achievements and you add some rewards for them. That's it. Should there be heirloom type items that you can send to your alts for increased XP gains? No, I hate heirlooms so much. I hate heirlooms because heirlooms remove the gear progression of leveling because you keep equipping the same item. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. It would be okay if you have items kind of like a MOP Classic from Archaeology. You get like some crazy two-hander, or you get some like good like basically items that are not viable at max level but are really good for leveling. But we kind of already have these, like, you know, like BOE epics, BOE blues. Like, there's already items in the game that kind of fit this. Like, you can just add more stuff like that. Add more stuff like that in the game. Add more like good blues, good epics, low level epics. Make the leveling experience better. Make it more fun for people. It's fun if there's like, if you know if you reach a certain level, you get a new BOE you can equip. Like, put more of those in the game. You don't need heirlooms. Heirlooms are a very lazy way to get people to want to level more. There's another healthier way to do it, which is giving people milestone levels. Milestone levels. What's a milestone level? Breakpoint, checkpoint, what do you want to call it? Level 40 you get mount. Level 40 you get your lost talent. That's a milestone, it's a checkpoint. Put more stuff like that in the game. It doesn't have to be talents or mounts. It can be like an item. Like, yo, level 30 you get a class quest. Level 20 you get this. Level 40 you can get access to that if you have enough gold. And then people will be more excited because they have goals within their leveling journey. It's not just 1 to 60. It's 1 to this item and this quest and this like ability on my class. And that's what makes vanilla leveling so good. Every time you level up, you get a talent point. You get closer to the next big talent you can unlock. You get closer to the next spell you get. You get Whirlwind at level 36. You get this and that and that. You get Executioner's Cleaver at level 43. It's an insanely good BOE axe. You get Whirlwind Axe at level 30 if you can do the quest. You don't need heirlooms, bro. You don't need that. Heirlooms make sense in more recent versions of WoW. Would you feel like your alts got increasingly more XP the more max level characters you had? No. Even though I think that's a good idea on retail, this just promotes degenerate alt gameplay. And I think that's one of the reasons I quit The War Within. Because there was too many alts. It's like, literally, Blizzard was like, make more alts. Alts is good. Warband, get alts. And then you have too much things to do on your alts because you have to keep up with all the stuff like the vault and things. And you just fall behind and end up having no like proper characters because you have too many characters. And I think if you're promoting alt degeneracy, because alts are degenerate in my opinion, as someone that has alts, I think they're degenerate. It's not good. Let people make alts because they want to make alts. Don't promote it. Never promote it. You want to make an alt, you want to go crazy, do it. But don't be promoting it with an XP buff. and be hinting at it, hey, you really want to make an alt, you know, like, nah, that's how people burn out and quit. Especially casuals, because they can't really keep up. If I couldn't keep up. Should Classic Plus allow XP toggling for twinking? Yes. Yes. How is this not a thing, guys? Like, this is something that a lot of people like about WoW. I've never done it, but people like twinking where you stop at a certain level. Let me explain what that is. So, you would stop your XP at level 19, you can't level anymore, and then you do Warsong 10 to 19, and then you just kill all the low levels that are stupid enough to do Warsong at level 10. That's right. Punish those people. What are you doing, bro? Go back to Westfold, alright? You don't want to be doing Warsong at level 10, buddy. And then you can go and kill like level 40 somehow at level 19. It's stupid, it's game breaking, but it's kind of fun. It makes a lot of cool content. I would never do it. But out of the people that like doing it, go hard, alright? Alright, that is survey number 4 completed, guys. So, raid survey. Damn, that's a spicy one. Alright, see how long this is. It's not that long. This is not that bad. Classic Plus survey raids. Again, this is not made by Blizzard. This is just community. But Blizzard will be looking at this website for sure. I don't know why they wouldn't, right? They're probably going to be like, oh yeah, we did that in the game. They're gonna like this because everybody likes this. Oh shit, we're actually putting that in the game and everyone hates it. Kekshuk, maybe we should reconsider. Hopefully that's how they look at it, right? We'll see what happens. Should there be level up rates that give strong items but require 10 plus players? I believe that this is good for the game if you have 1, maybe 2 level up rates to give people a taste of the end game as they are leveling. I'm gonna mention RuneScape. I'm gonna mention RuneScape a lot. Sorry if you don't like hearing about RuneScape, but hear me out on this, right? Basically, RuneScape, you're always leveling the whole game because you have to get 99 every stat, which takes thousands of hours, which most people don't reach. Does that mean you have to wait till you have 99 in every stat to raid, hence being max level? No. You can raid way sooner, like way sooner. You can raid 20% into your journey, 10% to your journey if you really are anxious, right? Some people wait till they're done, other people go as fast as they can. I think a problem with WoW is you don't really get a feel of the end game until you're level 60, right? That's when the end game begins. You can't level up anymore. Now you can do dungeons and raids only. What if there were a couple of level up raids, like in Season of Discovery? They gave you a bit of a taste of structured content, more than dungeons. But they don't have to be ridiculously challenging or rewarding. They could be like better than quest gear, better than some dungeon gear. Harder than dungeons, but easier than level 60 raids. I think if you had something like this in the game, hear me out. This is a hot take, which is a survey question that happened before. You can justify making the leveling slower. I think a lot of reason why people might hate leveling in WoW and feel the need to rush the leveling in WoW is because they care about the end game. And they can't enjoy the end game while leveling. There's none of it. So they only will want to rush to the max level and start doing all the end game content. But if you have a bit of end game style content while leveling, maybe people will enjoy the leveling process more because they actually can do more variety of content than only leveling. Season of Discovery kinda did this with BFD and Nomergun, if you guys remember, and Sunken Temple, but it was really hard to find raids. I have to admit, if you are not a streamer, if you're trying to form a BFD raid in Phase 4, good luck. In Phase 2, it was easy. So I think I'm a hit yes here. Now, if Blizzard doesn't put level up rates in Classic Plus, is Classic Plus ruined? No. This is like an experiment, which they kind of experimented with already. I think it works, and I don't see how this is bad for the game. But you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to put too many level up rates. I think 2 is probably maximum. If it was up to me, guys, I will put 1 at level 30, probably 1 at level 50. Or level 25, level 45, something like that. Try to space them out a little bit to get people a bit of a taste of like, hey, this is what raiding looks like. Cool, right? I don't know. We'll see. It's one of those things that I don't really expect Blizzard to do it. But if they do it, it's pretty cool. So yeah, it's a nice question. It kind of ties to the question from yesterday that we yapped about how the leveling speed should be. Do I yap too much, guys? I feel like I say too many words for one. I'm just trying to give my reasoning for I don't want to just say like yes and move on. Like I'm trying to give my explanation. How do you feel about catch-up rates? Okay, so this is tricky. So I love ZG. I think ZG is one of my favorite raids in vanilla because it is so casual, right? You can just organize a ZG raid at a whim versus a Molten Core. And I also love Zulaman in TBC. I would say in TBC, guys, my favorite phase was when Zulaman came out. Casual 10-man raiding, kind of like Karazhan, but even more casual. It was just fun. I had a good time. These raids, they might be so easy and so good gear that you don't really have a reason to maybe do the older raids. So, are we happy if they add catch-up raids, if it makes old raids irrelevant? I'm not so sure about that. But if they add a catch-up raid, that is an addition to the older content, so now you would do Molten Core and ZG, that is amazing. If they do it like that, where you want to do both, but if you don't have time to do both, you can just do ZG because it's more chill. That is perfectly fine. So let me think of which one of these answers is the closest to that. Yeah, because they could invalidate older raids. You might add one raid and then 2 raids in the past are not worth doing anymore. So then you lost content. You gotta watch out. How do you feel about RP elements in raid? Example, Too Soon Executus. Okay, so this is the RP in Molten Core and this is the phase 1 of KT. I don't like the phase 1 of Kel'Thuzad. I don't think it's good. It's 4 minutes of literally nothing. This is also not exactly, I mean, I don't know. I don't really mind this one as much as this, which is kind of ironic because this one you're just AFK and positioning maybe, and this one you're fighting most, but it really is. The only time I felt challenged in the phase 1 of KT, guys, was when I raided in vanilla with no word buffs because we died. So killing those ads without word buffs before pre-patch of TBC was pretty challenging, and that was fun. But most of the time, it's like a lot of downtime and waiting. You're trying to compete to hit the mobs because they die so fast. It was a lot worse in SOD. SOD phase 1 of KT was literally AFK, nothing going on. So yeah, I'm gonna see what the answers are here. I want to see numbers on the screen, not some boss giving a speech for the 20th time. Remove them. The first or second time it's fun to experience, but eventually it's just annoying. So some option to skip the RP would be a welcome change. That's not a bad answer. I think that's fair. That's why I feel like this is the middle ground where you have unskippable RP the first few weeks, maybe the first month, and then you give an option to skip it. And people would hit the option, right? That way you've enjoyed the experience. But yeah, honestly, guys, if they do this, I'm not gonna get mad. This is something that I don't really care too much about. It's something that you are affected by more if you raid like on 7 characters every week and then you see the RP more. But yeah, I'm gonna pick that option. How do you feel about raids getting nerfed days, weeks, months after launch? Great question. Nerfs are inevitable. The easier the content is, the better. Nerfs should happen once, announced well ahead of time, and then never again for that content. Things changing rapidly makes it difficult to assess my progress compared to others. Outliers aside, nerfs never feel good and should never happen. Let players struggle, we'll get it eventually. I kind of disagree with all of these three. I think the way you should approach nerfs, which is kind of how they do it in retail, and they did the same back in ICC a long time ago, is you announce ahead of time, hey, after a few weeks, there's going to be either a buff or a debuff happening. Debuff to the mouse, buff to the players, whatever one is better. And then it scales up until it stops scaling. And it's a slow nerf to the raid versus an immediate nerf, like minus 50% health or something, right? Which we've seen before. That's like really dramatic. This one is like, players will feel more encouraged to keep raiding if they're like getting close to a kill because they know next week there's going to be a slight boost to them, right? And I feel like this is the most common way of nerfing raids now, right? In retail, WoW, in SOD they did the same towards the end. None of these have that option. I'm not sure why it wasn't mentioned. What are we doing here, Jordy? You're the person that knows the most about this stuff. All you do is raid, buddy. Little bash there. I'm sure he's not watching the stream. So I'm gonna go with no opinion because I don't believe in any of these 3 choices. I don't think there should never be nerfs. I don't think there should be only one nerf, and that's it. I don't think you should only like nerf too much, right? This is like nerfs are inevitable. The easier content is, the better. I mean, this is true for a lot of players, though. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I think there's more people that would pick this option maybe than the other two. Yeah, just go with no opinion on this because none of these three are what I believe, and I don't want to pick something I don't believe in. Given the choice of a new raid being spoiled by PTR, but launched relatively bug-free, versus a completely unseen raid but fairly buggy, which do you prefer? I'm gonna be honest, guys. I really liked the fact that we didn't know what the hell was going on in Scarlet Enclave. I know it was really overtuned. I know it was very controversial, but it was some of the most fun I've ever had playing Classic. Was that time we went into Enclave with zero clue. We didn't even know the name of the bosses. It was really special, and I had never experienced that in WoW, ever, bro. Because even in retail WoW with PTR, in Classic, like, the raids had already came out, so this was the first time I was genuine, like, I have no clue what is going on. There's no guides, there's no information, and it doesn't last for that long. It only lasts for like a week or two max, but it was cool, and I would love to see that again. I understand there's a lot of problems with it, but I think it's worth it, man. It's just special, right? Let's try to keep it PTR free. Maybe have a small team that internally tests the raid, right? Sign a NDA, whatever. Can I talk about this with RuneScape? I think I can. So I think I talked to some mods and stuff like that over at Jagex, and the way they do stuff. I talked to Bodhi about this. Actually, Bodhi told me. Bodhi said that normally what Jagex does is, let's say they want to test the raid. They want to test content. They get like people of all different skill levels. They sign an NDA saying that they are not allowed to stream the raid until someone has defeated the content, because they have insider information. So basically 99.99% of players have no idea what's in the raid, and then a few people do that have tested it. Those people are not allowed to stream the content and ruin it for everyone else, but they are allowed to do the content off stream. So normally what Bodhi does is he doesn't participate in this. He wants to stream, he wants the views, he wants the hype. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this, guys. I want to be able to stream it. But other people are like, yeah, I don't really care about that. I'll test the content for you. That's how they do it. I don't know if WoW could do it this way. We're talking about Classic Plus here, not Retail WoW, right? Keep in mind, Retail WoW ratings are a completely different scene. It's a professional scene. There's money involved. In Classic, it's more like just a hobby. Listen, the best players triumphant no matter what, right? You saw Beef Bar. They dominated everybody in Enclave. They cleared that raid in 24 hours, blind. But those are some of the best players. They're overqualified for Classic, you know. So if you're the best, you're gonna win. PTR or no PTR. That's kind of how it goes. I think for everybody, this will just be more fun, and obviously things will get tuned out. And if there's a bit of an internal testing team of like potentially decent players are not interested in participating in a race, they would help dramatically with the tuning of the fights. Moving on. Ooh, this is a spicy one, guys. Rank your ideal raid size for Classic. So the way these work is you click one, that becomes number 1. Number 2, see, it's very easy. Ideal raid size for Classic Plus. Me personally, I love 20-man raiding. I think it's better than 25. I think it's better than 40. I think it's better than 10. That's my own opinion. I know people like 10-man more, and 10-man is more casual. I respect that, but I prefer 20-man. Now, what is my second favorite raid size? Gonna be kind of weird here, but I think 15-man could work. It's a sweet spot between 10 and 20-man, which I think are the favorite raid sizes, where maybe everybody can get pleased. I'm gonna respect that, even though it's a weird number, and go with 15-man. I mean, RRT Basin is 15-man, right? It's not like we've never seen 15-man groups. Third best choice here. It's either 10-man or 25-man for me. Again, 10-man raids are so easy to organize, but there was a question on a previous survey that was like, should different classes be able to bring the same buff? And I voted heavily yes on that, in case they do 10-man raiding. If you do 10-man raiding and there are exclusive buffs that only one specific spec can bring, like Feral Druid, Wind Fury, and Sod, it is GG, my friend. It is the worst thing ever. I think I had a really hard time dealing with that in SOD. Oh, we don't have this specific niche spec. Boom, we miss out on a 20% DPS increase. Get wrecked. And a 10-man raid is a little harder to fit in all those slots because you're limited, right? With 20-man, you have a lot more flexibility. So I'm afraid that Blizzard will be a bit no changes with raid buffs and cock everyone like again. So I will not select 10-man as my third favorite and select 25-man. Even though I believe 10-man is really good and most people like it, it really is based on how they implement 10-man. Right? Implement those buffs, I mean. Let's put 10-man as fourth. If they did like, hey, you can get this buff from 2 specific specs, that would fix 10-man rating. You can bring all the buffs in the game, no problemo, while inviting a variety of classes. You don't have to be very picky and pick specific classes every time and specific specs, and then be like, sorry, you can't join Mr. Rogue. We don't need you, Mr. Rogue. What do you bring for us, Mr. Rogue? Think about the rogues, man. That's like 10% of the player base. You gotta respect that class, you know? If you feel punished for inviting a rogue to the raid because it's only 10 people and you're limited on buffs, it's not gonna feel good for the rogues. A lot of people quit during phase 2 of SOD because no one wanted to invite rogues. I'm just saying. Moving on these 3, I'm just gonna go like this, with the highest raid size in the end. Again, 40-man raiding is really cool, but it's very annoying to set up. I would say, ideally, what Blizzard does is the raids are 20-man or 15-man. But you can invite double the intended amount of players if you want to, at the expense of having to share loot with more players, but also be able to invite people that might have showed up late or just make the raid easier. We yapped a lot about that in the yesterday, certainly I talked about it for 30 minutes. So if you like 40-man raids, if they were 20-man, you could scale them up to 40 if you want, but you would lose half the loot, right? But anyways, we did the same in Enclave. On week 1, the content's too hard for normal players. What did we do? We brought 40 people. We still didn't clear the raid. It was that hard. But it was very overtuned. Anyways, moving on. How do you feel about raids and or bosses requiring resistance in Classic Plus? Ooh, move yourself? Oh, is my camera not... So sorry, guys. Is that better? I kind of forgot to move the camera. Like this, you can still read it. And there's no way my cam covers it. Yeah, that cam setup is only if I'm watching a video. How do you feel about raids and or bosses requiring resistances in Classic Plus? I'm not a major fan of resistances. However, I do respect that it's another way of approaching the gearing. And it has really cool RP elements. Like, I'm fighting a massive fire elemental. I need fire res. But it does feel kind of weird having no DPS stats on items and only having resistance. It is... I don't know. I don't really hate it as much as some people do. Some people really hate resistance, like a lot. I'm not those people. But I'm not a big lover of it. I'm somewhere in between. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I think the way resistances was implemented in Season of Discovery Phase 4, it was pretty bad. And I think a lot of people remember that now, where you needed like 300 res. Like, you would get gear from Firelands, I was gonna say, from Molten Core, and you can't wear it because it didn't have resistance. But it was better than what you had, but you still couldn't wear it. Let's see what the answers are here. Resistances are annoying. The entire system should be removed. I think that's extreme. But if they did that, it's not like I'm gonna quit the game. It's okay for the tanks or a couple of players to need them. Yo. But the entire raid shouldn't need resistance.
69, yo.
Thank you so much, Adpo. Appreciate that, man. Resistances are a fun way to do horizontal progression and are true to Classic. I would be disappointed if resistances were removed. Maybe this is what I think the most. Like, it's okay if the tanks and couple players need them, but you don't need the whole raid to have them. I think that's how it is in BC, right? Except for one boss. And normally the tank, like in SSC, the tank needs a bunch of res on that big Hydraxium kind of boss, right? Maybe this is a more reasonable approach. You have a few individuals that need resistance to do some mechanic, and then the tank has to have resistance. Not always though, but if they're gonna do it, they can do it like this versus everyone needs resistance. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. You still preserve a bit of the RP of it without like enforcing it on all the players. But yeah, honestly, guys, any one of these, I don't really care. Honestly, bro, I'm gonna pick this because I actually don't really care about it. Should raids have multiple difficulty levels? This one I've talked a lot about, guys, for years. I am someone that believes that raid difficulty levels are bad for the game, and that Blizzard actually found a solution for this during Season of Discovery by mistake, which is hilarious. I don't know, maybe some people thought about that solution. I never thought about it. I was always like, I don't like raid difficulties, but I don't know how do you fix it. And Blizzard accidentally fixed it in Molten Core with a bug. So yeah, If they just do that system, bro, like you balance the raid around 20 people, but you can bring 40. If you're bad, you bring 40 and you lose half the gear, but you get the same gear as the people are good enough to clear with 20. No special heroic mythic gear items. And if you want to add hard modes, do it. But just make it where the hard mode gear is a mount. How cool was it in SOD? Those mounts from Kel'Thuzad, guys, remember? I never got one. I've only killed that boss once on hard mode. It's such a cool mount. You would like start mounting it, and you get this cool animation around you. There were 4 different ones. So it adds so much replayability. It's like a massive flex. So you can reward good players with special mounts. How would you want the difficulty of raids in Classic Plus to be? I would agree with that if quality was not in that sentence. If it was amount of loot goes up, which it did in SOD, I would agree with that. And as long as you allow people to bring more, like up to double the intended amount to fix the fact it's too hard for them, and then they lose half the gear, that's fine. But the way that's worded is you're hinting at adding mythic gear and heroic gear, which I will never defend that. I think it's a terrible system. No. I will not select that option just because of quality. And a fourth option, I love mythic raids, so make them hard. Go play Midnight if you think option 4, please. Alright, so we're gonna go option 2 here. Option 3 would be decent if quality was removed, but option 2 I highly agree with. As long as you allow people to enter the raid with more the intended amount. Do not create Gnomeregan version 2. Gnomeregan was honestly potentially the death of SOD, where they did a 10-man raid that was quite challenging, especially if you brought average players with a bad comp, and you couldn't skate it anyway. You couldn't be like, oh, let's bring an extra couple people. Was it? You either do it or you don't. Very, very cutthroat. If that's going to be the difficulty you bring, that's fine, as long as you allow people to bring an extra few people to compensate. Like, bring an extra class that will actually give the buff, stuff like that. That will fix it. Yeah, this one here, I don't know why they put this here. Does anyone pick this? Dude, are there people that actually hate Classic Plus and don't want it to happen? And they are voting on the worst possible options in order to make the game worse for the people that do want to play it. Those are the true evil humans of the planet. I bet there's people doing that. If there were different difficulties of raids, how should the loot differ? Select all that apply. Very good question. Better stats and or bonuses? No. Higher rarity? That's crazy talk. You're saying like you do a raid on normal mode and you get epic gear and then you get legendary gear on... No way, right? That's insanity. Cosmetically different. More loot drops per boss. I agree with as well. That's fine. Not quality of the loot, but more loot. Why not? The thing is, you don't really need this, because if you do to what I did, you get more loot per boss by going with the intended amount. Think about it like this. 20-man Enclave is Mythic. 20-man Plus is normal mode. If you're raiding Mythic, you get more loot per boss per player because you're less people. But yeah, like if you want to do it with raid difficulties, then fine. I don't really think you don't need to though. It's such a unnecessary thing. But yeah, I would put that. Other, absolutely no difference. Yeah, that's... I mean, other would be a mount, but I'm afraid that they might think other is something else. Oh, you can type. Okay. Hard mode only mount. Maybe a tabard. Toy. Yeah. Just like fun little things, man. Nothing crazy. Should cooldowns reset in raids after a wipe or successful kill? I think they should, man. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of waiting. I'm trying to think about this. Like, how can this be bad for the game? It's more press W gameplay, right? But dude, waiting for 3 minutes for that wish, it really is not interesting, man. I don't see why people... I don't know, guys. I think this is a yes, right? This is a yes. One of the best changes Blizzard made in Wrath Classic was actually this. They implemented this last minute. Can you imagine Wrath Classic without that? Bro. It would be a terrible gameplay. You would have to wait for the Bloodlust debuff to expire. That's how it was gonna be. You have to wait 10 minutes of every boss in Naxx. Unless you don't want Bloodlust, right? It's... Yeah, it's just vote yes on that. Come on. Like... It would be too much to say no there. How do you feel about word bosses? Ooh, this is spicy. Word bosses are annoying and incentivize players no-lifing so they can scout a spawn. True. These should be removed or changed. True. I don't know. Like, I can't disagree with that. I cannot disagree with that. I don't really mind. I never felt like I was missing much. Yeah, I mean, I cared more about word bosses on some private servers and also on the first version of Classic. I was someone that wanted to get Imperial Demolisher on my warrior, but I realized the effort it takes to get it. You have to wake up at like 4 in the morning and show up to the word boss if you have to, you know? So I was like, yeah, I'm missing out on a fantastic item, but dude, this is too much, you know? Word bosses are word bosses and the competition to get them are a fun part of what makes Classic great, and I'd be disappointed to see them change. I agree with that too. There is elements of them that are super fun, but in reality, most of the time, word bosses are just like cesspools of people on Discord that have power trip issues. I think those people make the minority of the game, right? So in my case, I think option 1 will probably benefit 95% of players, and 5% of players will get mad. We have to think of the majority here. For those 5% people, I agree that this is true to you, and I respect it, but end of the day, it ain't worth it, man. What they could do is just have one word boss that is exactly like that. One word boss, Azurgo style, you know? Keep it in the game, Kazakh, whatever. And then add a few word bosses differently, maybe like they did in Sod. But yeah, what makes a word boss is it's in the world. But what if you had a word boss that respawns every hour? Crazy idea. And you get saved to it. So once you kill it once, you don't get loot the second time. Could do something like that. You know, so try to figure it out. They kind of did this in hardcore when Amphi was killing the same boss on 12 different layers. They hotfixed it so you get saved to the boss. They have this technology. That might be better than having an instance. I don't know. The instance is the most casual way to do it. This could be a compromise. And it would still allow world PvP to happen. So, but yeah. I think it has to be changed no matter what if you ask me, and that's option 1. How would you want word bosses to look like in Classic Plus? Okay, so we just yapped about this, right? Word bosses should be more accessible to everyone, so making them all instants like they were in Sod is a good change. I mean, they could do that, but what's the other one? I like word bosses, but feel like instance version didn't really capture the magic of them. Maybe some type of hybrid where they can spawn in the world and inside the instance could work. I mean, that's better than this one. I don't know, why would you go kill the one outside of an instance when there's one in an instance, right? Word bosses should never be instance. It makes them super lame and not fun. The race to tag it and defend the tag is the best part, and removing that by making them instance ruins it. Yeah, I don't really agree with any of these that much. I think the best option is just having them have a shorter respawn timer. Instead of a 1 day or 2 day respawn, just make an hour or 2. But yeah, this probably is the most close to what I would want, although this is really stupid. But yeah, we just gotta pick the lesser evil. Personal loot from word bosses. I could see personal loot from word bosses being okay. But people hate the idea of personal loot in Classic, which I understand why. But maybe those guys would be okay with it being specifically on a word boss. Like, maybe word bosses will have their own rules. I don't know. It's one of those things that, honestly, most people don't really interact with them. So no matter what you do with word bosses, the only way people get really mad is if you put some Omega Bis item that people feel like they need to get, and then they realize how annoying it is to kill word bosses. That's where you have a problem. Right? But if it's like slight upgrades and only the mega sweaty parsers want them, that's smaller part of the community. So less people will care. We'll see. I mean, there's a way of doing word bosses I think most people are happy about. You don't have to think about it as like a 50-50 thing. Moving on. How do you feel about limited time events like the AQ Gate event? Spawning content in the world with a set limited time frame. These events are cool, but they create FOMO. I don't want to have to schedule my life around this game, so remove them. I swear, guys, some of these answers are like Wowhead comments. They are worded like a Wowhead comment, which, like, in my opinion, the most toxic part of the internet for WoW is Wowhead. Wowhead comments is the most toxic people you can find. This is how they would word it. There's like a way of wording it normally, then there's the Wowhead way. where you try to rage bait as many people as possible. Okay, sorry. I like these events and the narratives they create, but they should last longer than 10 hours or even a couple of days, so I have time to engage with them. Obviously, I mean, 10 hours is ridiculous, right? Like, I love these events and I want to see more of them. They're epic! Exclamation mark, I was here. Now this is worded like the #1 comment on a Reddit thread. Alright. Let's just go with option 2. I think that's probably the best one here. I don't really care too much about this one, I'm gonna be honest, but these two are kind of extreme. I think having it being a 10-hour event, maybe you can't show up that day, feels kind of bad. Have it last a few days, more likely that you can participate. Don't see anything wrong with that. How do you feel about quests that require you to enter multiple raids? I don't think that's bad. I see why they can be bad, but it's kind of cool, right? Yeah, these quests seem cool in reality, but it's just annoying. Simplifying it so I don't have to drag my friends to other content. Listen, my little friend, my fellow Wowhead commenter, alright? Look, if the raid progression is done properly, and gear from AQ is still good in Nextdramas, and gear in Molten Core is still good in Blackwing Lair, which I'm sure Blizzard will actually listen to this, because one of the most upvoted things here is actually relevant gear progression, not where it gets invalidated. Your friends will be doing AQ anyway. They will be going there right after Nax, right? It wouldn't be like a drag. You're dragging your friends into AQ. Your friends are happy you're getting your item in AQ that they're gonna do anyway. This is something that Kana TBC did wrong. Is they put some omega good items on specific bosses. So you kind of felt like you were dragging your friends to kill Lady Vash during Sunwell phase or Black Temple phase to get the belt of 1000 keks, right? But if there were items that were also good for raid classes on those bosses, not just that one Omega item, then more people would be happy to follow you into that raid. It's the same with Gruul's Lair. Is Gruul's Lair a good example of horizontal progression? I'm not entirely sure if it is. It's one Omega good trinket. That's it. And if you're like someone that doesn't need that trinket, which most classes, I mean, obviously gonna help your buddies, but it doesn't feel like there's anything you can get. So if let's say Gruul could drop, I don't know, 3 items that are really good, even in later phases, one for every archetype of stat, whatever, then it would kind of be more horizontal than just it being one thing for one specific role or one type of stat role, right? But yeah, I think this stems from that problem of people don't wanna do AQ during Nax, and they don't normally do AQ during Nax, but you would do AQ during Nax if there were many still besides, which that kind of is in vanilla when you think about it, but even more, right? If it was horizontal, this is a non-issue. So I will select the one that agrees with that. Don't you dare change these. Yeah. What was the second option, out of curiosity? I like these, but maybe once the content has passed the current meta, create some sort of catch-up so I don't have to run it and can still get my item. That is a very good take. What do you define as it not being current meta anymore? Is the next raid coming out already that? Or many raids in the future? So it's quite vague. I will pick this one. But I could see that being logical. How do you feel about bosses cycling week to week or mechanics changing every time, over time? Yo.
Glad you're back to the old lady, wow.
The old lady indeed. Thank you so much, Chad. Appreciate that. Also, Mister, thank you. I shouldn't have to relearn a fight on week 4 after having killed it. Keep the bosses the same every week. Wowhead comment. Some variety is fun, but changing it drastically is a step too far. I love these types of fights because they're always different. More of them, please. I think option 2 here for me. Yeah. I don't really care too much about it though, but yeah. You want to be like too different. Just go option 2. If they're doing something like this, it doesn't have to be every raid tier. Maybe every few raids is one boss that changes a little bit. But yeah, honestly, Blizzard, you don't have to do that. But if you want to do it, do it. I don't know. I'm kind of used to it at this point. How long should raid gear remain relevant on average? Top question. Only for the current raid, replace most or all gear in the following raid tier. I don't want that, man. I'm sick of that. Current gear should be comparable to or slightly worse than the next raid tier items. That is okay. Current gear should be relevant for 2+ tiers. Yeah? I'm not sure. This is a hard question that will require some solution, but I don't see a clear answer. I'll go with this one, but I would want the gear to last even more than that. But it's a 2+, so yeah. But yeah, this first one, I really don't like that. I think it's one of the most hated things about retail for me. So, I don't want to see that in Classic Plus. Should the phase schedule in Classic Plus reorder the raid release schedule of original vanilla? Is this like Chinese WoW, guys? So basically you have Naxxus the first raid, and then you have Molten Core, then it's AQ, then Blackwing Lair, you know? So this is... guys, hear me out, right? That answer that I picked, I don't believe in. I'm just highlighting it so you read it. I think that could be bad for Classic Plus. I feel like in SOD, a lot of people got bored because there were no brand new raids coming out post Sunken Temple, and it was just the same old raids with like changes, right? I think people want to see at least one new non-vanilla raid in the game in between all the raids we have done a million times, right? Waiting till Naxx is over, to see a new raid is pretty bad. Think about how many people, you know, think about how many people would quit and never get to see the new raid, you know? Again, guys, I'm highlighting this option because I don't actually agree with it. I'm just showing you the one, the option I don't like here. So I'd say I'm more option 1 on this. I think option 2 is, it doesn't really make sense. You can have MC, Naxx, AQ, whatever, Blackwing Lair in vanilla Classic Plus, but put something in the mix. You know, put something in the mix, right? Don't just do the same raids and then start adding new raids, because by that point a lot of people have quit and they don't actually get to see the content. So I'd say give me a new phase schedule to experience, but I would say keep it linear where MC's before Naxx. Why would Naxx come out before MC? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Just do like MC and then another brand new raid, or brand new raid and then MC, whatever. But I don't know. They'll figure it out. But don't just... This is kind of like the worst option here, I would say. Don't do that one. Should Classic Plus allow GDKPs? I think I already answered this, and I said no opinion because I am indifferent on GDKPs. I don't hate them. I don't think they're the best thing ever. So I would play Classic Plus with GDKPs or without GDKPs, so I don't care. I'm not gonna say I want them, I'm gonna say I don't want them. I'm indifferent about it. Alright, so that survey is done. We only have 8 surveys left. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do all of them today. We're gonna finish them tomorrow. Let's do a few more though. Zone survey. A zone survey. Classic Plus surveys, zones. Do you want new continents, worlds, dimensions added to Classic Plus? This is a bit too like, wait, listen. I'm okay with continents. I'm not okay with worlds and dimensions. I said this yesterday. I don't like the idea of Outland. I don't like the idea of what other words have there been, like, you know, Draenor. Like when you go in an instance and you're somewhere else. Like I like everything, being able to see it on one map. And you can go everywhere with like a boat, you know, like it doesn't have to be an other instance is what I'm saying. If they do that, it's fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna like hate the game, but I don't know, I get bad vibes from that stuff for some reason. So I don't know if I can, the more the better. If I say yes, then I'm saying bring more worlds, you know. Depends if it's done well, yeah. I'd say that. But obviously I would love more continents though. Like stuff like Northrend is great. Mitswitten, like you just take the boat there, it's very fantasy, you know. I like stuff like that. just adding more places in between Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor is like the most healthy way to go about this, and you have so much space, and then eventually you can add a continent like Pandaria was, like put something else maybe, something up here. You can do so much. You don't need to have a world. You don't need an outland, bro. If yes, check all you'd like to see in vanilla. Not as launched, but vanillified. I think it would have to be executed quite well, and I would not want to see it on launch. But I'm gonna hit yes on that. Vashir, no, it's a great zone, but I don't think it's a good idea for Classic Plus. Very ballsy if you do it, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, big balls. I don't know about Tol Barad, man. I mean, I guess you could do it. I'm nah, fuck that. Gilneas, sure. The Lost Isles off the coast of STV, yeah. Emerald Dream, available via portals. I mean, if it's executed kinda like they did in SOD, it could be good. But depends what they mean by portals. If it's like literally in another world, I wouldn't be a fan of it. Pandaria. Pandaria could be good. I think Pandaria is one of the best continents ever made, art-wise. But how do you sell it for Classic Plus, though? I don't know how you sell it. I think it's a tougher sell than Northrend. So I'm gonna hit no on that for now, but they could do it. I wouldn't get mad if they did it. But I'm gonna say no. I'm more no on that. Draenor, no. Broken Isles? What is Broken Isles? Is it Legion? You don't need the Broken Isles, bro. Like, I mean, you could do it, but let's keep it no for now. Cool Tiras. Cool Tiras is kind of cool, man. Zondalar, yeah. This BFA zones, I could fuck with those, bro. I think they match more than these, but they could also do that, right? But I'm more inclined for these. Darkspear Islands. I don't know what that is. Dragon Isles, nah. Balor, Island of the Coast of Stormwind. I don't know what that is either. Zuldari, Island of the Coast of Hillsbrad. What is this? Ogre Zonia. That sounds cool, bro. I don't know what it is. I'm selecting it. Kazan is awesome. And Tel Abim, I don't know what it is. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have no idea what they are. And this one, but that one sounds cool though. Yeah, just do it like that. Well, I select Tel Aviv. I have no idea what it is. Select it, bro. Survey Ruin. Would you prefer Blizzard focus on improving existing zones or adding new zones at launch? In between. Add new zones, but maintain quality. The old zones need a lot of work. Some more than others. So make the old zones better. And add zones as well. Add a few zones, make old zones better. And then what you want to do, Blizzard, is you gotta think. Think, Blizzard, think. If you are what I hope you're doing, is approaching Classic Plus as a non-expansion game where you don't increase the level cap every 2 years and invalidate all the old content. Please tell me this is your plan. I will cry otherwise. Let's say you're doing that. Let's say you have listened, alright? How do you create hype? How do you bring people back to the game without being like, ho, expansion? You need content. What content does expansion normally have? New zones. So you want to save additional zones that you could add on launch for hype, kind of like an expansion without the expansion part of like increasing level cap. So you don't want to be like, here's 20 new zones in Classic Plus right away. Bro, relax. We don't need 20 new zones. We have already 40 zones. Maybe add 2 or 3. 1 or 2 leveling zones. This is what I would do, bro. I would literally copy TBC pre-patch with the Blood Elf and Draenei in the game and their zones. They're fantastic. And add maybe 1 or 2 more leveling zones max in between 20 to 60. You don't even need to, but you could add 1 or 2 max. And then maybe add 1, maybe 2 max level zones. And that's pretty solid. You don't need to add like 10 more than that or something, right? Save those zones. Save those ideas. Save that content. Save those dungeons. Save those raids. For a big patch in the future to bring people back that might have quit because they've done the content. Which would be what an expansion normally is. Again, without increasing the level cap. So I'd say somewhere in between. So the old zones get higher quality, more content, and then brand new zones. But not only adding new zones, and not only improving existing. Although I'd be more on the side of improving existing zones at first, than adding zones. But you can do a little bit of both. I'm yapping. Can I take a breath, guys? Should there be more fast travel options in Classic Plus? More fast travel options. Portal between cities. Portals between cities and various zones. More ships, zeppelins between the continents. Flight paths all over the place. Multiple Hearthstones set to different places. I like the idea of more ships and zeppelins. I think that's pretty nice. It's still slow, it's classic-y, but faster, right? I would personally prefer ships and zeppelins over just having like 50 portals in the city. Flight paths all over the place. So this sounds really good, right? But do you want it to be like Cataclysm, where there's 10 flight paths in one map? Because I think that's too much. But if they can add a flight path more per map, that's fine, bro. I'm gonna be honest, like, if there's a flight path in Goldshire, if there's a flight path north of STV for Alliance, I don't see why that's bad for the game. Max one more flight path per faction per map, max. You might not add one even. That's great, but selecting this, I hope they don't think, oh, just like Cataclysm, because Kata did it too much. There was too much in Kata, man. You guys, remember in Kata, when you would click a flight path to go somewhere, the map at the Flight Master was just full of shoes. You couldn't even see where you're going. You have to zoom into the map because of how many shoes were there. It was that overdone, right? But I would select those two. Multiple Hearthstones set to different places is not a bad idea. Well, let's like not select that for now, but it wouldn't be that bad. Should certain fast travel options be unlockable via quest achievements and activities? Absolutely. Yes, man. Yes. I've always liked the idea of making a cool-ass grindy achievement that made flight slightly faster if you did it. I don't know, like something stupid like that. Maybe this flight pad is specifically unlocked by doing this achievement. I don't know, like, give people more stuff to do. Easy, alright? But don't make it enforced. I don't know. But obviously, if you're in a sweaty guild and they enforce you to do an achievement, then you're in a sweaty guild, right? Like, but casuals, I don't think they're gonna feel like they need to do some stuff like that. Would you want to see more rare spawns, rare events in the world? Yes. I love rares, man. I love rares. But keep them rare. I think rares should be rares, not fake rares. Retail has fake rares. Retail is weird. Retail has fake rares and actual rare rares. Like really rare rares. It doesn't make sense. They have like 5-hour respawn rares that are on a rotation. And then they have rares that are always up. Yeah, I don't know if you need the always up rares in WoW, but in Classic, but whatever. I'd say put more rares. But that's how they do it. How would you feel about open world mini bosses? Akin to the world bosses but catered to 5 players. This is very common in modern MMOs. Where you have a... I don't know, think about like... the big gorilla on STV, but it's not a quest. It's just like something you could fight together. I mean, it's kind of cool, right? Vanilla doesn't really have much of this. I think it depends how it's implemented, right? I'm open to it, but how it's implemented, right? But it could be fun. That could be a lot of fun, guys. Should there be more PvP locations and events in the zones? Example, tower control in EPL, Silitus and Blood Moon. I think it's okay if you can opt out for it. Which I think these kind of work that way. Yeah, they're all opt out. So, yeah, if they're like that, no problem with it. Should the phases in Classic Plus feature limited time or rotating world events? Example, Elemental Invasions, AQ Opening Event, Scourge Invasion. Kind of depends on the rewards, because if the rewards are OP and then you miss out on them, it feels kind of bad, right? Like, you gotta wait a year or whatever, 6 months to get those rewards. But yeah, I don't really mind them. I'd say they're great, but I wish there was like a, you know, depends on what you get, right? Should the phases that Classic Plus progresses through change the world in a permanent way? I don't think so. I don't like the idea of like something happened and the world is like just changed forever. You don't have to do that, bro. You can add to the world. You can add to it. Add a zone, add a continent, right? With an expansion, if you want to call it an expansion phase, right? You don't have to change the existing world, and now if you played it, you didn't play it before, you don't know how it was like. Yeah, the Cataclysm was very controversial because of that. Alright, that was the last survey of the world tier.